Hey, you. Ready to really level up your focus?
Ooh, I like that.
We're going to do a deep dive into Cal Newport's deep work.
Okay.
And he argues that the ability to concentrate without getting distracted
Mm-hmm.
is becoming like a superpower
Yeah.
in
I-
our world.
Interesting, because it seems so obvious, right?
Right.
That to focus equals good work.
Yeah.
But Newport really digs into the why it's so rare
Mm-hmm.
and how that makes it even more valuable now.
Okay, so before we get too far ahead,
Yep.
let's just break it down.
Yep.
What is deep work?
Right.
And why should we even care?
Yeah, so he defines it as
Okay.
professional activities performed in a state of distraction-free concentration
Mm-hmm.
that push your cognitive capabilities to their limit.
Okay, so it's not just powering through your to-do list.
Right.
It's about
It's about working deep.
really getting into that flow state.
Exactly.
Where you're totally absorbed.
That's where the value comes in.
Okay.
Like you get better results,
Uh-huh.
you develop valuable skills,
Yeah.
and because it's becoming so scarce,
Mm-hmm.
those who can do it
Yeah.
have a real edge.
Okay, I can see why that would be important.
Yeah.
But if it's so beneficial,
Right.
why is it so hard?
Well, he says our environment's kind of working against us.
Okay.
Think about it. Open offices,
Right.
constant interaction,
Always connected.
pressure to always be connected, like on Slack or email.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
It's all a recipe for distraction.
Right.
You know,
Yes. Tell me about it.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm constantly juggling a million things at once, and I never really give anything my full attention.
Yeah.
Is that what he calls the principle of least resistance?
yes, that's exactly it.
Okay.
It's our natural tendency to just choose the easiest option,
Right.
even if it's not the best in the long run.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, so it's easier to answer that email
Right.
than to focus on something complex,
Totally.
even if that complex thing is way more important.
Okay. So in this world where deep work is rare, but super valuable, who's actually winning?
Well, so he points to economists Bryn Jolson and McAfee.
Okay.
They predict that these three groups are going to thrive.
Okay.
First, those who can work well with technology.
Mm-hmm.
Second, the superstars in their field,
Right.
you know, those who have really mastered their craft.
Yeah.
And then lastly, those with the capital to invest in new technologies.
I see the categories.
Mhm.
But do you have any concrete examples?
Absolutely.
I always find it helpful.
Take Nate Silver,
Okay.
the statistician,
Yeah.
who predicted the 2012 election
Yes.
using all those complex data analysis tools.
Right.
That's a prime example of someone working well with technology.
Right.
Then you have someone like David Heinemeier Hansson,
Okay.
creator of Ruby on Rails.
Mm-hmm.
He's a superstar in his field,
Yeah.
and his expertise lets him command top dollar.
So in both cases, their ability to focus
Exactly.
and master their craft is a key part of their success.
It is.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
But I'm curious,
Yeah.
is deep work just about professional success? Or is it about living a good life?
That is a fantastic question.
Right.
And that's one that Newport really explores.
Okay.
He argues that deep work can be a source of meaning
Uh-huh.
and satisfaction.
Okay.
So to illustrate this,
Yeah.
he contrasts the work of a craftsman,
Okay.
like a blacksmith, meticulously forging a sword,
Right.
with a typical knowledge worker
Right.
who's constantly bombarded with distractions.
Yeah.
The craftsman finds deep satisfaction in his focus
Right.
and that sense of purpose that comes from mastering a skill
Yeah.
and creating something.
Okay, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
There's a real sense of accomplishment when you can get into that flow state
Right. Yeah.
and lose yourself in a challenging but engaging task.
That's exactly what Csikszentmihalyi calls flow,
Oh, yeah, okay.
a state of intense concentration
Yeah.
that leads to a sense of fulfillment and happiness.
Yeah.
And Newport argues that that flow state
Uh-huh.
is closely linked to deep work,
So it's not just about being productive.
Right.
It's about feeling,
feeling alive and engaged.
okay, I'm sold.
Good.
Deep work is the key to success.
Yes,
Happiness, maybe even enlightenment.
that's right.
But how do we actually integrate this into our busy lives?
Okay, well, that's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
He proposes 4 distinct philosophies of deep work scheduling:
Okay.
monastic, bimodal, rhythmic, and journalistic.
4 different approaches.
Yes.
Okay, I'm all ears. Let's hear it.
All right.
Let's break it down.
Okay.
Which one's the best fit
Right.
for, a non-monk living in the real world?
Yeah. So let's start with the most intense one,
Okay.
the monastic philosophy.
Okay.
This is all about like eliminating distractions completely.
Okay.
Like think of writers that go off the grid to write, cut off all contact,
Yeah.
focus only on their craft.
So that sounds a little extreme.
It does.
For most people.
Right.
And is that realistic?
Well, it requires a lot of commitment,
Yeah.
but you can adapt the principles,
Okay.
even if it's just for a few hours a day.
Right. So like turning off notifications,
Exactly.
putting your phone in another room.
Yeah. You're signaling to your brain
Mm-hmm.
that it's time to focus.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay. So what about the bimodal philosophy?
All right. So this involves like alternating between long periods of intense focus
Right. Yeah.
and more flexible time. It's like having two modes,
Okay.
deep work mode and everything else mode.
So instead of trying to squeeze it in,
Yeah.
you're dedicating large chunks to it.
Exactly.
Like almost like a retreat.
Like think of a professor who spends the summer immersed in research
Mm-hmm.
with very little teaching or administrative duties,
Okay.
or a consultant who blocks off days for client projects
Right.
and then leaves the rest of the week for meetings and stuff.
Okay, but that sounds like it requires a lot of flexibility. What if you have a job with like set hours or meetings?
Then you might like the rhythmic philosophy better.
Okay.
This one's all about like a regular routine.
Okay.
You build it into your daily or weekly schedule,
Right.
like go to the gym.
Okay.
You set aside a specific time
Right.
and you stick to it.
So maybe I decide to spend like the first 2 hours of
Yeah.
every morning working on my most important task
Exactly.
before the emails start rolling in.
Yeah, before the day gets crazy.
Okay.
The key is to find a rhythm that works for you.
Mm-hmm.
Make it a habit.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be the same time every day,
Right.
but something you can stick to.
That's good. I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so what about the last one?
Okay.
The journalistic.
So this one's about seizing moments
Okay.
of deep work
Yeah.
whenever they present themselves.
Okay.
Like a journalist who has to be ready to jump on a story
Right, right.
as soon as it breaks.
Okay, so if I have like an unexpected cancellation
Yeah.
or I find myself with a free hour. Mm-hmm.
I could use that time for deep work
Exactly.
instead of checking emails or...
Yeah, or scrolling through social media.
I like that.
It's about being opportunistic
Yeah.
with the pockets of time that might otherwise be wasted.
Right. Okay, that one I like.
Good.
It seems very flexible,
Good.
adaptable to, busy schedules.
Yeah.
So, okay, even if we figure out when to schedule deep work,
Right.
what about the actual, like, working deeply part?
That's a great question.
Right.
And that's something that he addresses with a range of different techniques.
Okay.
But one of the key concepts
Yeah.
is the importance of rituals and routines,
Okay.
things that signal to your brain
Okay.
it's time to focus.
Okay.
It's time for deep work.
So, like, making a cup of tea
It could be.
or lighting a candle
It could be.
could help you get in the zone.
It's not so much about the ritual itself,
Okay.
but the consistency and the intention.
Okay.
So you're creating a mental association.
Between that ritual and deep work.
Okay, so it's like training your brain to recognize those cues
Mm-hmm.
and shift into focus mode.
Exactly.
Okay, so what are some other rituals?
So he also talks about grand gestures.
Okay.
These are more elaborate rituals
Okay.
that create a clear separation between deep work time
Okay.
and the rest of life.
Right.
Like he mentions J.K. Rowling checking into a luxury hotel
Oh, wow.
to finish writing Harry Potter.
Okay, that is a grand gesture.
Right.
I don't know if I'll be booking a 5-star hotel anytime soon,
Yeah.
but I get the principle.
It's about creating that dedicated space and time,
Yeah.
free from distractions.
Right.
So you're signaling to yourself and those around you
Right.
that this time is sacred.
Don't interrupt.
Do not interrupt.
Okay, so I can see how that would be helpful,
Mm-hmm.
but even with the right rituals and routines,
Right.
I think a lot of people
Yeah.
struggle to stay focused.
It's easy to get distracted,
It is.
especially these days.
Yeah, so what does he suggest?
Okay, well, one thing is productive meditation.
Okay.
This is using low-intensity activities,
Well, okay.
like walking, showering,
Yeah.
even doing the dishes,
Okay.
to think deeply about work problems.
I think I do that already.
You probably do.
Sometimes my best ideas come to me when I'm like out for a walk.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
You're leveraging those in-between moments
Yeah.
instead of letting your mind wander
Right.
or getting sucked into distractions.
Okay.
Cal Newport himself uses this
Uh-huh.
and encourages readers to experiment.
Okay. I like that tip.
Yeah.
I'm going to be more mindful of those moments.
Yeah.
But what about like something more proactive?
Okay.
Like training your brain to be more focused.
He suggests memory training.
Memory training.
Yes, as a way to improve your concentration and strengthen your ability to focus.
Okay.
He uses the example of Daniel Keeloff, a memory champion.
Wait, like someone who can memorize a deck of cards in seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, that's not directly relevant to your work.
Right.
But the process of training your memory strengthens your overall concentration and makes you more resilient to distractions.
So it's like a workout for your brain.
Exactly.
Building up those focus muscles.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay.
And there's a specific technique called the memory palace technique that these memory champions use. It involves associating the things you want to remember with vivid images along a familiar mental route.
Okay, you're going to have to break that down for me.
Okay.
How does a memory palace actually work?
Okay, so imagine a place you know well, like your childhood home or your current apartment.
Yeah.
You mentally walk through this space.
Okay.
And in each room, you place a vivid image representing something you want to remember.
Okay, so let's say I want to remember a grocery list. I could imagine like a giant loaf of bread on the kitchen table, a carton of eggs spilling down the stairs.
The more outlandish, the better.
Right?
And then when you need to recall the list, you mentally walk back through your palace.
Okay.
And those images will trigger the memory.
Wow, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to try that.
Good.
But let's be real here. Technology is probably
it's a big one.
Our biggest distraction.
Yeah.
How do we tame that beast?
Yeah.
And make it work for us?
That's a huge issue. And he tackles it head on.
Okay.
He argues that we've fallen into the trap of the any benefit approach to technology.
Okay.
So if a tool offers even the slightest potential benefit, we feel justified in using it.
Oh my gosh, I'm so guilty of that.
Right.
Like, this app might help me be more productive.
Yeah.
This social media platform will help me connect with clients.
Right.
And before you know it,
you have a million tabs open. Yeah. You're scrolling through Instagram.
Okay.
It's easy to fall into that trap.
Yeah.
But he encourages us to be more discerning.
Okay.
And to think like craftsmen.
Right.
When it comes to technology.
Okay.
He uses the example of a farmer.
Okay.
Who carefully considered the potential downsides of buying a new piece of equipment before making a decision.
So it's not just about the potential benefits,
but
the potential costs in terms of distraction and wasted time.
Exactly. It's about being intentional.
Okay.
And choosing tools that align with our goals.
Okay. I like that mindset shift.
Yeah.
But how do we actually do that?
Well, he suggests a few things.
Okay.
One is to implement an internet Sabbath.
Internet Sabbath.
Yes, a period of time where you completely disconnect from the internet.
Right.
Could be a whole day, a weekend.
Oh, wow.
Or even just a few hours each evening.
I like the idea.
Yeah.
But I don't know about a whole day or weekend.
That's tough.
Yeah.
So he also suggests scheduled internet blocks.
Okay, what's that?
So it's about setting aside specific times when you're allowed to use the internet. And then avoiding it completely outside of those times.
Okay.
This helps you regain control of your attention and prevents you from constantly switching between tasks.
So instead of checking email every few minutes, I would designate an hour in the morning and an hour in the afternoon.
Exactly.
And focus on deep work the rest of the time.
You got it.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like creating a structure instead of letting it control you.
That's right.
Okay, so that's for like taming technology in general.
Yeah.
But what about email?
Email.
I feel like I'm constantly
big one.
Drowning in it.
Yeah, it's a major productivity killer.
It is.
But he has some tips.
Okay.
One is to use sender filters.
Sender filters.
Yes. So it's about setting expectations and filtering out unnecessary communication. He uses an auto reply.
Okay.
That requires senders to fulfill certain criteria before he will even respond.
That's amazing.
So this forces people to be more thoughtful about their requests.
Yeah.
And helps him manage his inbox.
It's like a gatekeeper.
Exactly.
Only letting through the important messages.
That's a great way to think about it.
Okay, so what other tips?
So he also advocates for doing more work
when
you send emails.
Okay.
So instead of just firing off a question,
right.
take the time to anticipate the recipient's needs and provide all the information up front.
So instead of saying, are you free next week?
Right.
I should propose times and locations and attach any relevant documents.
Exactly. It's about being proactive and aiming to complete the thread in as few messages as possible.
Okay, I like that. It's more efficient.
He calls this the process-centric approach to email.
Okay.
So each email is created as a step toward completing a task.
Instead of just a random exchange?
Exactly.
Okay. Any other email wisdom to share?
One more.
Okay.
It might sound counterintuitive.
Okay, hit me.
Embrace the don't respond strategy.
Wait, seriously?
Yeah.
Just ignore emails.
Well, not all emails. But he points out that successful academics often ignore emails that don't require immediate attention. They recognize that their attention is valuable.
Right.
And they're not willing to waste it.
On every random message.
Exactly.
Okay, so be selective.
Yeah.
Prioritize what matters.
And take control of your inbox.
Yeah.
Instead of letting it control you.
Okay, so these are all great strategies for like minimizing distractions and creating an environment for deep work.
Yes.
But what about the bigger picture?
Okay.
How do we make sure that we're focusing on the right things?
Right.
And how do we structure our days?
Well, that's where we get into the nitty-gritty of scheduling and time management. And he offers some really insightful strategies for that.
Okay, let's hear it. Okay, so where do we begin?
One of the most powerful strategies he talks about is fixed schedule productivity.
Fixed schedule productivity?
No.
It sounds kind of rigid.
It might sound that way, but it's really about setting a boundary between work time and personal time.
Oh.
So it means having like a defined end to your work day where you completely shut down.
Right.
Stop thinking about work.
So instead of working late into the night trying to get everything done, you're saying I should stop working earlier.
Yes.
Okay.
The idea is that you force yourself to be more efficient with the time you do have.
Okay.
So you're less likely to waste time on less important things.
Right.
And more likely to prioritize what matters.
I see. It's like you're creating a sense of urgency.
Sorry.
But is that realistic?
Well,
I mean, a lot of jobs demand long hours and like...
Well, he actually uses his own experience as an example.
Okay.
He's a professor with a very demanding schedule.
Right.
Teaching, research, writing.
Yeah.
And yet he finishes his workday by 5:30 almost every day.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah. And he rarely works evenings or weekends.
So how does he manage that?
He's incredibly disciplined about how he structures his day.
Okay.
And one of the key things is he plans every minute of his day.
Planning every minute of the day.
Yeah, it's not about micromanaging every second.
Okay.
But it's about having a general plan for how you'll spend your time. So blocking off specific times.
Right.
For deep work, for meetings, for email, even for breaks.
I see. So it helps you like avoid that feeling of constantly reacting.
Yes, constantly reacting.
Whatever comes up.
Exactly.
Which can be a huge drain on your energy.
It can.
So if I'm trying to incorporate this, like where do I start?
Start by identifying your most important tasks.
Okay.
The ones that require deep work and have the biggest impact on your goals. And then block off specific times in your schedule to focus on those.
Right.
Treat them like important appointments.
You wouldn't miss.
Exactly.
Okay, so schedule the deep work first.
Yes.
And then fit everything else around it.
That's the idea.
Okay.
And it might take some adjustments.
Right.
But the benefits are worth it.
Okay. What else?
Another helpful technique is to quantify the depth of every activity.
Quantify the depth?
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
So ask yourself, how long would it take to train someone to do this task? If the answer is like a couple weeks, you're probably dealing with shallow work.
Right.
But if it's several years, that's probably something much deeper and more valuable.
So the goal is to minimize the tasks.
Yes.
That someone could learn in a few weeks.
That's right. Focus on the work that requires your unique skills.
I like that.
Yeah. And then he also talks about setting a shallow work budget. A shallow work budget?
Yeah.
I've never heard that. What is that?
So it's about setting limits on how much time you spend on shallow tasks each week.
Okay.
This forces you to be more mindful about how you're using your time.
Okay.
And helps you prioritize the deep work.
So like if I decide I'm only going to spend 10 hours a week on shallow work, I'll be more intentional with those 10 hours.
Exactly.
And more likely to protect the rest of my time.
That's right. It's about creating a system that helps you stay focused on what's important.
So this has been incredibly insightful.
Good.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into deep work, what are some key takeaways?
You know what I think is most fascinating? Is that it's not just about the specific tactics, but the underlying mindset shift.
Right.
It's about recognizing that your attention is your most valuable resource.
Right.
And you have to protect it. Be intentional with your time.
Be intentional with your time. And choose to focus on work that truly matters.
It's like taking control of your day.
Exactly.
And your life.
Yeah.
Instead of letting them control you.
And this brings up an important question for you.
Okay.
What's the most valuable thing you could be focusing on right now?
Oh, that's a good one.
And what distractions do you need to eliminate to make that happen?
Ooh, I'm going to need some deep work time to think about that.
Good.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone.
Thanks for having me.
We hope you found it valuable.